right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Susan Lorraine.
Hi, everyone. So over the summer, I read a book with this title, The World is Made of Stories. And by the time I got to the end, I was totally convinced. We tend to think that the world is made of atoms or energy or stuff. But I think that it is made of stories, because ever since we're very young, stories shape our ideas about who we are, where we come from, what's possible, what's real, what's important. And that's true both for ourselves individually as well as collectively. So traditionally, the story makers have been the media and politicians and economists, but the more we start to take charge of our stories, the more we're able to shape our own future. Because first we make our stories, and then our stories make us. So I just started to feel that there's a real opportunity there if we start to look more closely at our stories and how we imagine the future to actually start to shift things. And some of our stories are conscious, but a lot of them are actually below the surface, below the waterline, and those are often the stories that hold us back. So today I was just in Lunenburg County, and I heard some of the stories like, things will never change, really, and we're not good enough, or we have to catch up. And we've been hearing those kind of stories for a long time, and how they hurt us. And so I think the real opportunity is to come together to let go and release some of the stories that hold us back and to create new ones that serve us better. So also last summer, Tony Lamport and I started imagining stories for the future. We decided to create our own scenarios. We wanted to think about some of the complexities below the usual kind of doom and gloom or utopian, the two kind of extremes, and really look into some of the complexities in the middle and how things determine which way we go. And we also wanted to bring these futures to life and make them something that we could feel and touch and kind of inhabit for a while. See, well, what would it look like, if things went that way? And we created characters and we had them talking to each other. We created little news stories and we had a lot of fun. And we called them likely stories. So I'm just going to quickly show you little glimpses of some of those stories now. They're on our website. But this one is a story of what would happen if we got really smart about sustainable development of our own resources. And one example is shifting from aquaculture to aquaponics, which is a zero-waste circular economy kind of model. And all of our stories were grounded in what's actually real now, because this is being practiced in Nova Scotia now. It's just not scaled up yet. It's said it's not economically viable. But if we actually made the choice and saw that future and went for it, we could do it. So in this case, fish waste becomes fertilizer for plants, and it's all in one system. This was a story that came from our inquiry into immigration, and we ended up in a surprising twist, really, because here the immigration so-called problem was solved because in the future, in 20 years, wealthy people from countries that are overwhelmed by some of the social problems find Nova Scotia very attractive. This scenario is about our demographic trend line and what happens. The status quo keeps continuing, and here we have senior residents outside of Halifax where people are needing to take care of themselves. A food truck comes once a week and a mobile clinic every 2 weeks, but other than that, people look after themselves. And a lot of our positive stories ended up with this very inspiring kind of rebranding of who we are. This is a place where the people have taken charge of their economy, the environment, their way of life. This is a place with modest prosperity, safe, stable, and a great place to live in, and that's plenty good enough. So this is actually a picture of Masdar, a city in the Middle East that's being built from scratch right now to demonstrate sustainable living in a desert environment. So why can't we do that here as a model research living demonstration site of sustainable living in a colder climate? And you'll have to visit the website to find out the chain of events that ended up to us being our own country, but they're actually quite believable. And then you start thinking about the advantages of, hey, we could control, our our environmental and healthcare policies, but also we can start to really express ourselves in a bigger world. And this scenario was, this is a cairn on top of a mountain in Cape Breton that is storing some instructions for the bands of people in the future who are going to rebuild civilization after the global calamities that have basically destroyed civilization as we know it. So through this process, we discovered that actually it was a big relief to just look the future in the eye. And instead of, the usual kind of background fear of where things could go, or flipping into wishful thinking, or just going on kind of automatic business as usual, finding another way and getting more specific and grounded and real about what the future could be. And we also found that having gone through that process, all of a sudden the present comes alive with little clues about, where the future could be hidden, or what little sprouts are here already that we could build on. And also we started to see the kind of path from here to there. So some of you might recognize this is loosely related to a discipline called scenario planning. But what we came up with, or what we think could be useful in Nova Scotia, is more kind of free form and grassroots and accessible than that, which is a fairly structured process. So we came away feeling that, that there's a lot of potential in Nova Scotia communities to start creating our futures, our alternative futures together, and finding out from that process, lifting us out of our business as usual mode of thinking, but also it's creative, it's fun, it's engaging, it's a way to come together and dream big. And so we invite you to please come visit us. We put together a little website, Alan Sloan here, Tony Lamport, and those are all the stories that we have so far, but we'd welcome more if you want to send us a story, and we'll post it, and just we're curious to see where it might go. So please let us know if you have some ideas. Thanks.
Susan Lorraine.